Hello there guys and welcome to Mad Doc Minis. In this video I'm going to be making Truescale Worldeater Space Marines using Assault Intercessor parts and Mark III Space Marine parts. Mine are going to be Heresy era loyalists, but you can build and paint yours however you want, of course. So I'm going to take the Intercessor parts that I'm going to use, the Assault Intercessor parts, the arms and the torso sections, do a quick check to make sure I've got the correct components in my hands. I'm going to take the front part of the torso and cut that off just above the belt. So the chest plate is going, we don't need that. So that gets snipped off. And if you've got this front piece in your hand, what you want to do while you're holding that is also chop off the belt buckle part. And I'll just show you exactly what I mean by that. You want that to be nice and flush with the groin. So you're going to chop off all the detail there. So that's going to get covered up and is going to be an important attachment part later on, as you'll see. So that leaves you with the little groin piece there. Put that safely to one side. Take the rear part of the torso and kind of do the same thing. Just chop it off above the belt area and then you're left with the butt. Okay, so get rid of the torso pieces, bits box or trash can, your choice, but you don't need them for the conversion, so they go. And you're going to glue these two components together. A little bit finicky, there's not too much gluing surface, so a bit tricky this bit, and they all go together slightly differently as well, which is a bit annoying. But once you've done that, you're left with something that looks like this. All right, now you need to put the legs on, and that's a little bit finicky. Again, it's a little bit tricky without the torso to hold on to, but I did find this personally the easiest way of doing it. So the legs go on and you're left with the complete bottom section. So you might want to tidy the feet up and stick that onto the base at this stage, so you've got a nice strong foundation that's nice and dry for later. So on that goes, and just set it to one side to dry. Job done. The next thing to do is to glue the front and the back of the Mark III torso together, and that all goes together exactly as it's supposed to within the limitations of the kit. No conversion work on this little bit, and it's a nice idea if you want to put the Mark III backpack together at this stage as well. I mean, you may want to use the Primaris backpack, it's entirely up to you, but I want to use as many Mark III components as possible. So that gets put together and put to one side for later. The next thing is to get some milliput, and you want to make a kind of pea-sized sort of sphere, and that gets put straight on top of the legs, and you want to kind of mold that into a kind of gumdrop sort of shape, I guess. And once you've done that, the torso, Mark III torso, goes straight on top, and that little armoured plate at the bottom slides right over that little belt buckle area that you shaved down earlier on. It's a superb fit if you do it right. Do a little bit of a scale check, because you can still change things at this stage, and I want Primaris scale here, as you can see. And I'm going to just put a little dab of glue just in the side where the kind of plastic meets the plastic there, just to hold everything nice and steady while the milliput solidifies. I used Primaris arms on my Marines, but I did chop off the heavy bolt pistols in favour of the classic bolters from the Mark III kit. It's just a more appropriate look, I think, for what I'm going for. And I know they wouldn't be fired one-handed necessarily, but rule of cool, guys, you know, they're my Marines, I'm going to do what I want sort of thing. And I think it's a plausible counts as well, because it's kind of about the same size as the heavy bolt pistol, that kind of classic bolter. So the arm goes on first, the shooting arm, or the bolter arm I should say, and then I just chop off this tiny little bit that sticks out the back of those classic bolters, because that actually is a much snugger fit once you glue the components together. I would really consider pinning this if you're going to use them in wargaming and chuck them around, so otherwise it's going to fly off and snap off. So just consider that, guys. Backpack goes on at this stage just exactly as it's meant to, and I give the milliput around the waist a bit of a tidy up. You don't need perfection here because it's all going to get covered up later. Incidentally, I'm going to let you know that I did do a very similar conversion video for this sort of thing before, and I'll put a link to it in the description. If you haven't seen it, go and check it out, because there are some differences there, and you know, you might prefer that conversion, so go and check that out, guys, if you haven't already, and then you can choose what one you want to use, or do a kind of a mixture of the two. So here I'm just putting the Mark III helmet on, and of course the Mark III pauldrons are going to go on after that, and he's going to really start to come together then. So it's all starting to look really kind of nice and robust, you know, Heresy era stuff. Really, really cool. And once that's all secured in place, the last thing construction-wise you need to do is to get loads of little stowage kind of pouches and grenades. Get it all out ready. Get loads and loads of them. You'll need a lot more than you think. And you're going to use those to put on around the waist to hide all the milliput and to just widen out the waist a little bit. Make this guy look a little bit more thick set. We're after a powerlifting physique here, guys, not a bodybuilding physique. You don't want a little pinched in waist. You want a meaty looking guy who can wrestle a bear, you know. So just get that all on there, and he'll be ready for a little bit of paint after that. But do production line, get them all ready, and then get ready for some painting. So after I've undercoated the models in Rattle Can Corax White, I'm then going to use this really good paint that I got from Green Stuff World. It's a metallic blue, Neptunus blue. Lovely, lovely colour. Perfect for these World Eaters. And I use that actually neat out of the pot. For me, it's thin enough and covers really well. And I just love it. I got a few colours from them actually, but this is probably one of my favourites. But you know, you might want to water it down. It's personal preference really. I don't think it obscured too much detail, not in my view, and it covers really, really well, and it's just the perfect colour. Love it, love it, love it. I next paint the pouches in Mornfang Brown, which is a really good paint from Games Workshop. One coat jobby, which is great. And then I use a little bit of Cabalite Green just on the grenades really, just to differentiate between the grenades and the pouches a little bit, add a splash of colour. And then kind of muck around with some transfers. Go and check out a video I did on Microsol and Microset. I'll put a link in the descriptions if you want to know a bit more about how to make putting transfers on shoulder pauldrons easy, because they're lifesavers. I do put more transfers on later, but in the meantime, I put a little bit of Black Templar on the weapon. It's a really good option for painting weapons if you don't enjoy painting weapons like me. I then spend a little bit more time on the eye lenses, a bit of Mephiston Red first, being careful not to make too many mistakes here because I don't want to tidy up around that too much if I can help it. I'll then use some Troll Slayer Orange to paint a little line in the middle of the eye lens. Sorry, this is a little bit out of focus. I'm not really a painting tutorial dude, but I did my best, and so you'll get an idea of what I was doing. But yeah, once you got the Troll Slayer Orange down, I then put a little dollop of white scar right in the corner of the eye lens using the tip of the a really small brush, and that just gives I guess a kind of false impression, if you will, of a kind of shining eye lens, some light kind of catching the eye lens. So a steady hand required there. It helps to kind of put your hands and fingers together for stability, but that's where that dollop goes, and that's my method for doing eye lenses. So then I put a little bit of colour onto the crest on this particular model because he's got a helmet crest, a little bit of Mephiston Red again, and then paint all the metal areas with bulk metal, or whatever it's called now, lead belcher. So little bits on the backpack, the lightning claw, the bits on the bolter, get some of that as well. Really good paint, kind of one coat job again, which is great for me, a lazy painter. And then I put Rune Lord Brass around the shoulder trim, which is a wonderful colour. Worked really, really well, I think, here, and just gives a nice kind of archaic look to the miniature. I put a few more transfers on, as you can see here, from the World Eater transfer sheet from Forge World. Wow, 20 quid for a sheet of transfers. Hurts, doesn't it, eh? Anyway, they are very good quality and they go on nicely, so there is that. So these are the transfers I used, and we're getting ready to put a wash over the miniature now. First of all, I made a mistake really. I used the Agrax Earthshade neat out of the pot, and it was just way too strong look. It's like making it brown, you know. I want a dirty white. So what I did is kind of like dab that off with a tissue while it was still wet, and that's fine. It come off absolutely fine and kind of almost enhanced the look really, if anything. But then I kind of watered that Agrax Earthshade down quite significantly. I would say at least 50-50 with water or some kind of thinning medium, until the pigment starts to separate a little bit, and then I put that all over the miniature, and that was a much better result. And I did kind of dab bits off here and there with the tissue just to give it a bit of a varied look, but that gives a lovely dirty white kind of appearance, which is the way I like to paint white. And that goes over everything actually, all the metal areas, the shoulder pauldrons, everything gets a coat with Agrax. I used Agrax rather than Null Oil because I wanted a dirty weathered look rather than just a kind of black kind of wash really. So I'm really, really happy with that. And If we do a little bit of a comparison now between a miniature that's had that coat of Agrax and one that hasn't, you can see the difference it makes. Makes it look more lived in and real, really, I think. Anyway, I'm really happy with that look. So the next thing to do is to get ready to put some basing material on. I just use Geek Gaming Base Ready range. Highly recommend it. Really takes the stress out of basing for me. Definitely use the special glue though. Don't use normal PVA. This is a great glue and it just makes the whole thing come together nicely. So if you enjoyed the content, guys, consider liking and sharing with a friend. It really helps the channel to grow. And if you're not already subscribed, consider giving me a sub. I want to say thank you to all my existing subscribers. I really appreciate all your kind support. I'm growing slowly and steadily, and it's great to have you all aboard. So thanks ever so much, and I will catch you all in a future video. But I'm going to put these guys on a bit of a turntable and do some glamour shots for you as best I can to kind of show them off a little bit and see what you think.